New Year's Eve morning, at the end of 2019, bushfires raged across New South Wales and Victoria, devastating millions of acres of land, killing animals and destroying homes. One property in Eurobodalla lost everything, a property owned by UR and Sylvia. We met UR and Sylvia in March 2021, just over a year after the fires devastated their property. Their property is bounded by a beautiful creek and the Turos River, situated on about 50 acres of beautiful and peaceful land. We met them through Disaster Relief Australia, an organisation that is funded to help rebuild properties, fences, removal of trees, and clean up. We fell in love with these beautiful people and insisted we come back to help them again. Recently, in January 2022, we made our fourth trip to UR and Sylvia's property. Over our various trips, our teams at Bankstown Sports has rebuilt fences, cleared paddocks, picked up melted glass, rebuilt animal fences, chopped down trees, and most recently helped clear footings for their future home. They lost everything in the fires: their home, their antique cars and their bikes, their 2 dogs and horses. To make things worse, they were faced with looters taking advantage of people that had lost everything. They were uninsured because UR built his home with his bare hands about 30 years ago. Everything they have accumulated was now gone, and yet they get up every day, smile at anyone who visits them, and they begin their rebuild. Bankstown Sports has spent huge sums of money taking its teams to places with the intent of motivating them, teaching them, and helping their teams to bond. Our first trip down south cost us pennies. We all drove down ourselves, put it in a local hotel, dinner in the evenings, and we volunteered our time on their property. To this day, this trip was the most powerful, bonding, and motivational experience we have ever done. We soon realised that our personal and work problems are minimal, that there are many people much worse off than us, and helping others is contagious and addictive. We are currently planning our 5th trip down south, and we will continue to work with UR and Sylvia until their home is built, and hopefully continue our friendship beyond. So this was the fire bunker that they were building actually before the fire. They had a shipping container in there. They didn't manage to get in there, thank God, but they ended up putting their pets in there, hoping they'd be saved, but unfortunately they did not. UR and his wife jumped in their car and drove that way, in between the flames, down to Turos River. Jumped in the river, and they spent quite a few hours sitting in the river while the fire burnt through their property, including their house. So that's their new shed that they've just built, and now they're finally building the foundations for their home. And that's what we're doing today. Plumbing's done, and the boys have just finished helping to clear out the footings so that the concrete can come in hopefully next week. They've been stifled from the rain recently, which has slowed things down, but they will get started on that pretty soon. And you can see all of the trees around here are dead. Not all, but majority of them are. And the ones that are still alive here that have got some growth on them, they're actually probably have to be pulled down because they're quite weak and dangerous. This was the old slab for the old house, or actually shed I think it was, where he lost all of his cars. He's got antique cars, tractors, and we'll go over there later on and actually see some of those cars. He's used them as garden ornaments now, and one of these beautiful old utes there, he's got in the back ute, he's got some soil, and he's got some weeds there at the moment, but he's planning on putting some plants and veggies. These tractors were completely ruined, as you can see. They'll now just become garden ornaments. So their 2 dogs that were killed in the fires are buried here. The new septic tank has been installed for the new home. Now this beautiful old car It was obviously not like this before the fire. So it was actually in his garage, almost fully restored. And now look at it. As you can see how hot it was. It melted the rims, the wheels, melted the radiator. You can see sides of the car, and then this beautiful old car again was also in working condition, and it's now been turned into an ornament as part of the entrance to their residential area in their larger property. So you can see the tyres just burnt off. The steel in the tyres is only left, that's all that's remaining. They're going to use the back for a bit of a garden bed. Part of the tyre still there. Actually made it quite nice now. Beautiful old car. Totally ruined. Such a beautiful property. So you can see all these trees are dead. They need to be eventually chopped down. So there's just so many jobs to do here. And we've been collecting aluminium. So these pieces of aluminium were from engine blocks from some of the cars that he had, tractors that were ruined. It was so hot that the aluminium just melted and pooled on the ground. So you can see these shapes. That's how hot the place went. You can see there another big piece of aluminium there. And if you walk over here, I'm pretty sure we'll find pieces that he still hasn't picked up. Yeah, like here. Another piece. Another piece. Just amazingly hot. Nothing was going to make it through the fire. It's our new little veggie patch. The veggies growing. It's got fencing around it, keep the animals out. I think this is their firewood storage. Yeah. And then this is their toilet with a view. Nice view too.
She said it was New Year's Eve. It was in the morning of New Year's Eve. So we got up about 2 a.m. because it was starting to get pretty warm and pretty glowy. So we knew it was sort of coming. But that was still just a normal sort of bushfire at that time, you know. At around 5, 6 o'clock mark in the morning, it joined up with these two other fires, and then it just raced.
So I remember you telling us you went down to the river.
Yep.
That way?
Yep.
And then that's the way you took us in the car last time.
That's right, yeah.
When was that moment when you just realised you made the call and Cecilia said, we're just going to head down?
Oh, I had a mobile, I had a tank, 1,000 litre water tank behind my ute, so I could shift it around. And so once, like, it was that hectic, it was that massive, and so really wherever you put water on, it just didn't do much at all. And when the water ran out of that tank, I thought, that's it, let's go to jump into the bunker. But you just couldn't, the fire was just so severe. So I said, and luckily she talked me into bringing the big truck in from the driveway. It was parked in the bush, you know, away from the house paddock. And she said, why don't you bring it into the house paddock, you know, close to the others, in case the fire is sort of severe. I thought, yeah, okay then. And so once I ran out of water in my mobile tank, I just shouted, "Get into the truck!" Or we tried to get into the bunker, and then after that, just get into the truck, and we just belted down that way and jumped into the river.
And that was the point when you already had your burns, wasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I tried. I mean, I got a bit of burns in my legs. There wasn't that much, but it's, you know, that's how it goes, you know. It must have got pretty hot. But I mean, aluminium starts to melt at 630 degrees C, and glass starts to melt at 1,400 degrees C.
Yeah, and both of them melted.
Yeah.
I was looking at the aluminium before, and then I didn't do the glass job, but the first job we did was the glass. You know, apparently there was molten glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was pockets that was very, very hot. Hey. But anyhow.
How long were you down in the creek again?
Oh, probably, I reckon a couple of hours, so probably close to an hour in the water itself, you know, and then I started to shiver like hell, you know. And I had all my gear still on, you know, so I took some of the gear up and I because I was really, really cold, so I just got out of the water, you know, and then I started to do a bit of aerobics, you know, to get a bit of heat back in. And it was still too busy up here, you know, trees were falling and whatever, so we stayed there for another so long, you know, and then we came up to have a look, see what it looked like.
When you were lying in the river, did it just jump the river straight over the top of you, or?
No, it was still, so it came down, if I can call it downstream, and it had already crossed the river.
Okay.
But it was, in the beginning, I had my pump in the river, and in the beginning when I went to ride around to have a look at the fire, like there was just nothing to it, you know. So just that I came up and bought a Hessian bag and put that over the pump, because the fire just slowly crept downstream, you know. So if that front, or whatever you want to call it, when those fires joined up, if that wouldn't have happened, it would have been nothing. You know, it would have been, I reckon we would have saved a lot, you know, because we had every 800 mil, we had a sprinkler on the house.
Yeah. And are you doing the same for this one?
Yeah, we're going to put sprinklers on it.
Yeah.
I'll probably put even a bit more. I didn't have any sprinklers on the ridge or anything like that. I just had it just underneath the eave.
Yep, yeah, okay.
So it sprayed up on the eave and onto the wall, and then that bounced, the water sort of bounced up about 2 or so metres past the house.
Yep.
It watered that sort of section, so I thought, like in a normal bushfire, it's probably
So
pretty
you're going to
good.
put it on the top of the roof this time?
That's well, yeah, probably. So we got about 70,000 litres of water stored. And then we got the river.
Yes.
Endless. Yeah. And, you know, during the fire, well, I had the pump running, so our tank was overflowing all the time. So we couldn't use enough water to hose. On top of the sprinklers that it was on, if we needed to hose anything down, we hosed it down, you know. And we had buckets everywhere with towels in it for spot fires where the hoses couldn't reach. Yeah. Shit happens.
Yes.
That's the story of my life.
It's 2 years, just over 2 years.
Doesn't feel like 2 years.
No, I don't know. Yeah, no, you know, it doesn't feel like we've stayed in this camp for 2 years. So it must be quite comfortable.
This used to be your garage, didn't it?
It was, yeah. I hadn't finished. I had put the roof up. I hadn't finished walls on it yet, and so we had the vehicles parked here and whatever else was parked, you know.
And it was unaffected by the fire?
No. Oh, this. If you look at this corner pole, all the insulation burnt.
That's it.
Yeah.
And if you look at this particular post, it's got a reasonable bend on it. But the other post is dead straight. So, you know, saved, and we got, like we got a new bed there and a mattress that's in there. So that sort of thing has to be kept well. If you have something, it has to be kept well.
That's right.
Otherwise, it goes to
Just rot.
That's right. And in the other shed, we first had with more building materials. You know, we've got a few bits and pieces there. You know, but yeah, it all takes. You put a box of screws up out in the weather, and they're rusty within no time. You know, so they're no good. You know, so everything has to be undercover. It's just amazing, you know. It just blows me out, you know, that you've got people that never got no idea who the hell they are, and all they want to do is to come and dig bloody holes and put fences up. You know, it's absolutely magic. It is. It's really good, and the help is just massive. Not only, like, of course, the physical help, but also in your head. You know, you suddenly see that, oh shit, oh, there's a fence up there, or whatever, you know. And you've had that thought in your head, I have to get onto that, I have to get onto that, but then something else happened, or priorities change every day, you know. So that one thing that you had in your head hasn't been done, and it's 6 months down the track. Not just getting all that. You saw the fencing material that was in the grass.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to pick that up, and it's not a big job, you know, but it's still a job, you know. So you say, oh, it's not very important, I'll leave that to later. Only I've got more important things to do now, you know. And so then today, look, it's all done. Yeah, no, it's just magic, and it's really good for your head too, you know, not only for your. Not really. I've been like, I had a couple of horses, you know, they got burnt. But it's a bit of an investment. The horse float got burned, all the gear got burned. Hello team, I'm Yuha from Kadji. Thank you very much for coming.
You don't want to know him.
And you're always welcome, so I'll see you next time.